take this scenario. It's a Muslim country. Sharia is already implemented. What is the position when it comes to implementing the Sharia upon non-Muslims? What are the rules that govern that? And in that, you know, large swathes of the Muslim world for huge lengths of time were governed according to the ijtihad of Imam Abu Hanifa, according to the opinions of Imam Abu Hanifa, and according to the Hanafi madhab, right? And if we refer to, and one example in some of the earliest Hanafi texts, Mukhtasar al-Quduri, and then of course this would be repeated in Hidayah, and more significantly then in the various commentaries on it. One of the greatest muhaqqiqs of the Hanafi madhab is Imam Kamal ibn al-Humam, right? So in Fath al-Qadir, in commentary, he talks about this. And I'm just going to read out what he says in the context of a Muslim forcefully taking possession, appropriating alcohol or, you know, swine, right? Pigs from a non-Muslim, right? What is the hukum? You know, does he have to pay compensation for doing that? Is it seen as an act of crime on the part of the Muslim? It's an interesting question, right? So the fuqaha say that إذا أتلف المسلم خمر الذمية أو خنزيره ضمن قيمتها. That if a Muslim causes any damage to the wine stock of a non-Muslim, or his swine, his pigs, or his or pork, you know, like it could be meat stock or something like that, then he has to pay damages for its price. He has to pay. He's responsible for the price of the damage that has been caused. What's really interesting about this is that in Islam, we don't even see these things, something like wine, particularly wine and pork. These things are not seen as mal in Islam, meaning we don't even see them as things that have any intrinsic value. So that if it was a Muslim who had alcohol in his cellar and somebody went and destroyed it, there'd be no liability. Because as far as the Sharia is concerned, no wealth has been damaged. Nothing of value has been damaged. But if it was a non-Muslim's property, right, then the price would have to be paid. And the underlying principle in all of this is this principle that has been coined, that al-khamru lahum kal-khalli lana wal-khinziru lahum kashati lana. And the fuqaha have made these statements that as far as wine for non-Muslims, we will have to view it as vinegar for us. The way we see vinegar as something that is permissible to use and so on. That's how wine is for a non-Muslim in an Islamic society. We can't view it as anything else. We can't judge them according to the principles that bind us in our Sharia. All right, and pork for them is like lamb for us. It's like mutton or something for us. Okay, why? Because the same rules do not govern, and therefore they will be left to the principles of their Sharia. And Islam was celebrated for this. Islam was celebrated for this, that it allowed people who lived in an Islamic state to live according to their principles, according to their religion, according to their Sharia, according to whatever laws that governed them and governed their deen. And Umar radiallahu anhu in his Khilafah had established a decree where he had asked for tax to be collected in a particular way on the wine stock of non-Muslims, which meant that for them Umar radiallahu anhu acknowledged that it was something that was of value to them, and for that reason tax should be collected in a particular way. He wouldn't ask for wine to be given in tax, but for a tax to be placed on the value of it. Right? Now, this sometimes, the thing is that Muslims sometimes get frustrated about things like this. Right? It's like, oh, you know, it's the Sharia, it should be implemented fully, and so on and so forth. This type of frustration isn't new. It was expressed in the early times as well. In the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz radiyallahu anhu, some Muslims complained about the fact that the Sharia wasn't being fully implemented on non-Muslims. Alright? And they were getting away with things that are prohibited in society and that Muslims didn't want to see in society. And therefore, this was a problem. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz radiyallahu anhu thought about this, And he thought, maybe there's a point here. These people are living among us, right? Maybe our society, there's a possibility that our society, Muslim society, will get corrupted by the fact that there are people who are drinking alcohol, in our society, right? In a Muslim society. So he wrote to Hassan Basri, rahimahullah, the famous tabi'i, and asked him a fatwa on this. And he said, what's this? The Khulafa Rashidun and the leaders of the Muslims have left the Ahlul Dhimma, the non-Muslims living within Muslim lands, to kind of carry on according to their rules and according to their laws and their ways of marriage and their drinking of alcohol and consuming swine and pork and so on and so forth. Whereas these things are of course alien to Islam and impermissible. Hassan al-Basri rahimahullah replied in this manner. He said, they have paid their taxes. إنما بذلوا الجزية ليتركوا وما يعتقدون, so that they can be left to themselves and what they believe in. And of course it now becomes the duty of the Muslim state to protect that. So therefore the Muslim state will protect the right of the non-Muslim to drink alcohol. Okay? And he gave a bit of nasiha directly to Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Remember that he is the Khalifa, right? So he gave a bit of direct nasiha to him. And he said, you're expected to follow what the Sharia has to say and not to innovate. Alright? So don't try to change this, basically, is what he said.